Hello, Chem 20s. Tonight's lesson is going to be on molar volume. So we're still in the gas unit, and what I want to look at is another way for us to get a measurement of gases. Remember, when it comes to gases and we want to get moles, we don't have a piece of equipment that allows us to calculate that. Therefore, in the previous lesson, we had to use masses. We had to use an electronic balance to convert from a mass to moles using molar mass. Well, tonight we're pretty well going to do the same thing, but we're going to do it by using volumes. If we take a look, again, I'm going to remind you of Avogadro's number, 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd particles. That is how many particles are in 1 mole of a substance. So we are talking an extremely, extremely tiny, small, minuscule amount of particles. Well, what we can do with molar volume is, we know that 1 mole of any gas takes up roughly the same volume at a given pressure. This allows us to measure the volume for gases to determine moles instead of measuring out a mass. So by this new formula, what we can do is, instead of using an electronic balance and getting mass, there is a connection between volume and moles as well. And so we're going to use that idea of molar volume today. Well, one of the first things we need to know is the definition of molar volume. It's when we have 1 mole of a gas at a specified temperature and pressure. At that specific temperature and pressure, we know for a fact what the volume is going to be. And so we have these two memorized numbers down here. Now, you should already, on page 3 of your data booklet, at STP and SATP conditions, have these pressures and temperatures already in your data booklet. We did these on previous gas laws, Boyle's and Charles and combined, and we needed STP and SATP. Well, we're going to need these as well for molar volumes. However, the difference is you cannot write these in your data booklet. These are memorized values. So if you want these values, you need to know them. So I would put a giant star here next to them. So you'll notice SATP, 1 extra letter, it's the bigger number, 24.8 liters per mole. STP, it's got 1 less letter, it's a little bit smaller, 22.4 liters per mole. You're kind of going to notice that there's kind of a trick here, right? 2 times 4 is 8, 2 times 2 is 4. However you want to remember these doesn't matter to me, but you must have them memorized so you can use them. 24.8, 22.4 liters per mole. Make sure that you put them into your brain. Okay, now the next thing we have to worry about is we have to memorize today's formula. Now you'll notice today's formula is very similar to yesterday's formula, where we now are saying a mole is equal to a volume over a molar volume, little v over big V. This is very similar to a mole is equal to mass over molar mass, little m over big M. N is still going to be the same. N is still the chemical amount, or the amount of the substance we have in moles. V is going to represent our volume in liters. And lastly, capital V is going to represent our molar volume, or liters per mole. Notice the unit is very similar to when we had molar mass, grams per mole. There's this connection here that I hope we're making. The thing I also want us to be hugely aware of is you have to be aware of diatomic elements, things like hydrogen and nitrogen and oxygen and fluorine and chlorine. Remember, these are gases, and this diatomic element thing is going to catch up with us today because we are going to do multi-step calculations. So this is probably worth a highlight or a star or a circle in your notes as well. So what I would like us to do is, let's do the first example. I'm going to grab a pen here, hopefully, and we're going to solve for how many moles. So N equals, and we're going to solve for how many moles. Now, the substance we are talking about on this example is helium. And what I would recommend is every time you get the chemical or the element or the compound in words, I would right away change it into symbols. And this will pay off in the future, trust me. So we are trying to find moles, so that's N. They tell me we have 100 liters, so that is my volume. And then it says it STP. Well, STP is a molar volume memorized number, and you'll notice what I do to tell the difference between volume and molar volume. Again, I try to make my capital letters look a little bit more sharper, a little bit more pointy, so I know that that's a capital. So at STP, my number is 22.4 liters per mole. Again, our first mark will always be for the memorized formula. So moles equals volume over molar volume. So we get 1 mark for that. We're solving for moles. We're going to get 1 mark for substituting in with units. 100 liters divided by 22.4 liters per mole. And then we're going to type this in our calculator, and we get another mark for our answer in correct number of sig digs. That looks like it would be, well, it's 1. So we're going to go 100 divided by 22.4 equals. And my answer on my calculator is 4.464285714 moles. My liters cancel out, which is nice because I'm supposed to get an answer in moles. We look back here. I have 1 significant digit because I have no decimals, so we don't count zeros after. So my answer is going to be 4 moles. So 1 mark for the formula. Second mark is for substitution with units. Third mark is for correct answer with a unit in the correct number of significant digits. 3 out of 3. Let's try another question. Now, if it was me, I would pause the video right now. I would try it for myself, then I would unpause it to listen to the answer. So we are trying to find what volume. My substance is hydrogen. My moles, N equals 5.0 moles. And it's at SATP, so my molar volume that is memorized is 24.8 liters per mole. So I get my first mark for my memorized formula, V over big V. Again, we are solving for volume in this question, so we're going to have to move molar volume up to the other side. So V equals moles times molar volume. So you would get a mark for both formulas. You then are going to substitute in numbers in correct units. So 5.0 moles times 24.8 liters per mole. Again, moles on top, moles on bottom. You get a mark for substituting with units. So 5 times 24.8, enter. And my answer for volume would be 124 liters. Now, when I go back to the original question, I am only allowed 2 significant digits. So I will have to change my number. I could do scientific notation, 1.2 times 10 to the 12 liters. Or the other thing I could do is I could change the units from liters. So I'm going from liters, and if I would go up, I would divide by 1,000. And so I could also change my answer into kiloliters by dividing by 1,000 and get 0.12 kiloliters. Make sure my decimal's in there. And again, you would get your third answer for correct answer in sig digs with the appropriate units attached. Now, I have 1 question left, and this one's a little bit harder. What I would like you to do is make a list of variables down the side and see if you can come up with a plan for this question, then unfreeze the video. So we have, and this is where we have to be careful, a mass of 5.20 grams. This time our substance is carbon dioxide, so that's CO2. Now the only formula we have which has mass in it is moles equals mass over molar mass. So we're going to also need to calculate molar mass. So we're going to add 12.01, 1 carbon, plus 16, 1 oxygen, plus another oxygen, 16. And we're going to get the number of 44.01. And again, that's in grams per mole. I do not need to see your work calculating molar mass. Now that we're done Science 10, you can just type CO2 straight into your calculator, get me the value. It also tells me that we have SATP conditions. So I know my molar volume is 24.8 liters per mole. And it says, what will my balloon's volume be? So we are trying to find V. Well, we have enough information here to solve for moles, so we're going to do that first. Moles equals mass over molar mass. We're going to put 5.20 grams divided by 44.01 grams per mole. So 5.20 divided by 44.01. Again, we go back to the original question. We are allowed 3 significant digits. So this is the number on our calculator, 0.1181549648 moles. However, every time we do a calculation, we have to write the number in significant digits. So 3 sig digs, I need to put this in 3 sig digs, 0.118 moles. Now that is just for recording. When it comes to using the number, we're still going to use the full calculator number. I still have the number on my calculator, but when I write it on the page, we always write it in the appropriate significant digits. So my next step, so this is step 1, if you want to number them. Then step 2 is going to be, hey, we have to find volume. So my memorized formula is moles over equals volume over molar volume. We're going to solve for volume, so we're going to move the formula around. So volume equals moles times molar volume. We're going to sub in my moles of 0.118. Now, we're not actually using this number. We're using the full calculator number. We're just going to write it down in the shortened form. And we're going to multiply by 24.8 liters per mole. Now, when you go to find this volume, remember, you have the full number in your calculator. So just go answer times 24.8, enter. And again, we're going to get a big, long number. But you know already, you only need 3 sig digs. So we can right away put this into 2.93 liters. When we go to get marks on this, 1 mark for the formula, 1 mark for substitution with units, 1 mark for answer in sig digs with units, 1 mark for formulas, 1 mark for substitution with units, 1 mark with answer with units in 3 sig digs. This question would be out of a total of 6. Now, before we're finished this question, or before we're finished this lesson, I want to show you something. I want to prove to you that the unit for molar volume is liters per mole. So think about the formula. If I asked you to solve for molar volume, how would you move this formula around? Well, we wouldn't be happy solving for something in the denominator, so we would move this up, and when this comes up, n's going to come down, and our formula for molar volume would actually turn into this, volume over moles. Now, if you think for a second, what's the unit for volume? Liters. What's the unit for moles? Moles. Our unit for molar volume is not arbitrary. It's intentionally liters per mole. A lot of times people think these units are made up or they come out of thin air. You can usually, if you know enough, be able to prove why a unit is what it is. So please be careful that you're using liters per mole, because this one has to come out of your head, because 22.4, 24.8 are memorized numbers. I hope this made the lesson easier.